Nothing says, "I'm living my best suburban life," quite like watching your children accidentally expose your husband's affair with opposing counsel at the neighborhood park. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, applying concealer to hide the dark circles from another sleepless night. My name is Vivian Reed, crisis management specialist to the elite of Connecticut, and apparently the last person to know my own marriage was in crisis. "Mommy, can I have Cheerios?" My daughter Abigail's voice pulled me back to our Tuesday morning routine in our picture-perfect Oakville Colonial. Little did I know that in exactly 17 minutes, my 6-year-old would casually detonate my entire existence between spoonfuls of cereal. "Daddy has a special friend," Abigail announced, milk dribbling down her chin as my 8-year-old son Parker nodded enthusiastically beside her. "Special friend?" I asked, maintaining my professional smile. "The same one I use when politicians accidentally text me their mistress's photos meant for their burner phones. The lady with the short hair at the park," Parker added helpfully. "The one Daddy kisses behind the big tree when he thinks we're not looking." The irony wasn't lost on me. After a decade spent helping others navigate scandals, I'd somehow missed the Category 5 hurricane brewing in my own marriage. I carefully set down the coffee mug that suddenly felt like it might shatter in my white-knuckle grip. "When was this?" I asked casually, cutting Parker's sandwich into perfectly symmetrical triangles, as though my heart wasn't jackhammering through my Lululemon yoga top. "Sunday," Abigail shrugged, reaching for her juice. "When you had your bad headache and Daddy said he'd take us to Memorial Park." Parker nodded solemnly. "He told us not to tell you 'cause it was grown-up business and would make you sad. 10 years of marriage. 2 beautiful children. 1 mortgage with an interest rate our friends envied almost as much as they coveted our yearly Christmas card featuring our seemingly perfect family in coordinated J.Crew outfits. Did Daddy's friend look like anyone we know?" I asked, my crisis management brain already documenting every detail. "She looked like that lady from your work party," Parker said. "The one Dad was talking to for a long time by the punch bowl." My stomach dropped faster than property values in a school redistricting. Cassidy Morgan, the ambitious prosecutor opposing Tyler on the Westbrook corruption case, the one he'd been working late on for months. "She has those drawings on her arms like Aunt Olivia," Abigail added, twirling her spoon. "Tattoos. Of course. The same tattoos I'd commented on at the firm's summer barbecue, while Tyler had awkwardly changed the subject. I maintained perfect composure through breakfast, through getting the kids to the bus stop, through sending Tyler a sweet text wishing him luck on his big case, the one he was apparently handling in more ways than one. Instead of confronting him immediately, amateur move, I did what any self-respecting PR executive would do. I gathered intelligence. I called my assistant Dana and canceled my morning appointments, citing a family emergency. Technically not a lie. Finding out your husband is having an affair with opposing counsel qualifies as both a family and ethical emergency in most jurisdictions. By 10 a.m., I had a plan. Not the scorched earth variety that daytime TV would suggest. Throwing clothes on the lawn or changing locks. Those tactics are for people who don't understand that revenge, like a perfect souffle, requires precision and timing. Saturday arrived with Tyler announcing his plans over breakfast. "I thought I'd take the kids to Memorial Park again this afternoon. Give you some peace and quiet." How thoughtful. Such a devoted father, creating alibis through our children. "That sounds perfect," I smiled, kissing his cheek. "My migraine's back. I'll just rest here." 20 minutes after they left, I was parallel parked 3 blocks from Memorial Park, wearing oversized sunglasses and a Yankees cap borrowed from Dana. Crisis Management Rule Number 7. Verification requires evidence. Anecdotal testimony from kindergartners, while surprisingly accurate, doesn't hold up in court or divorce proceedings. I positioned myself on a bench with perfect sightlines to both the playground and the infamous big tree, a massive oak that, according to Parker's detailed exposition, provided cover for Daddy's special hugs. It didn't take long. While Parker and Abigail conquered the jungle gym, Tyler checked his phone nervously before walking toward the oak. 5 minutes later, she appeared. Cassidy Morgan in designer athleisure wear, her cropped hair and sleeve of tattoos confirming my children's painfully accurate description. I watched through my iPhone camera lens as they embraced, his hand lingering too low on her back, her fingers threading through his hair. When they kissed, after Tyler's obvious scan to ensure the kids were distracted, I took burst photos that would make the paparazzi proud. The strategic part of my brain noted the ethical violations unfolding before me. The human part felt like someone had replaced my blood with liquid nitrogen. 10 years reduced to furtive kisses behind a tree while our children played 20 yards away. But here's the thing about crisis managers. We don't melt down. We methodically assess damage, control narrative, and orchestrate consequences. Sunday dinner at Edith's house provided the perfect opportunity for phase 2. My mother-in-law had always treated me more like a daughter than a daughter-in-law, often remarking that Tyler married up with such conviction that it occasionally made family gatherings awkward. As Tyler excused himself to take an urgent call from the office, the oldest excuse in the adultery handbook, I slid my phone across the kitchen island to Edith. "I need your advice on something," I said quietly, queuing up the damning photos. Her reaction progressed from confusion to shock to that particular brand of controlled fury that retired school principals perfect over decades of dealing with unruly children. "That's the prosecutor from his current case," I explained, as her hand flew to her heart. "The Westbrook corruption trial." "That little fool," she whispered, removing her reading glasses. "His father would be rolling in his grave, using his own children as cover. The ethics board would have a field day," I nodded. "Not to mention what it would do to his partnership track." Edith squared her shoulders, a gesture so similar to Tyler's that it momentarily caught me off guard. "What do you need from me, Vivian?" That question, so simple, so powerful, crystallized everything. What did I need? Not just evidence of infidelity, but leverage for what came next. "Time," I answered, "and possibly a character witness when the moment comes." The plan formulated with military precision over the next 48 hours. By Monday morning, I had consulted with Martin Fletcher, Tyler's law firm rival, and, coincidentally, the best divorce attorney in Connecticut. I'd once saved Martin's tech CEO client from a potential IP theft scandal. He owed me a favor, and now was the perfect time to collect. Tuesday morning, exactly 1 week after my children had inadvertently detonated my marriage, I served Tyler his favorite breakfast, Belgian waffles with fresh berries, and dropped my precision-timed bombshell. "I've decided to reconsider that job offer in Seattle," I mentioned casually, pouring more coffee into his world's greatest dad mug. The irony as bitter as the dark roast. The one I turned down 3 months ago. For the family, Tyler's relief was palpable. A clean exit strategy handed to him on a silver platter. Until I added, "The kids and I could be settled by Christmas." His fork froze halfway to his mouth. The waffle was about to crumble. Just like his perfect life, the waffle wasn't the only thing crumbling at our breakfast table that Tuesday morning. Tyler's face cycled through expressions faster than a wheel of fortune's spin. Confusion, relief, and finally, the dawning horror of a man realizing he's walked straight into a trap. "The kids?" he stammered, lowering his fork with a shaking hand. "But my practice is here, my cases." "Like the Westbrook corruption trial?" I asked innocently, sliding strawberry preserves across the table. "The one you've been working so intimately on?" Our eyes locked, and in that moment, I watched as the gears of his Harvard-educated brain whirred frantically, calculating possibilities, measuring risks, and inevitably arriving at the terrifying question, what does she know? "We'd need to discuss custody arrangements," he finally managed, his lawyer voice emerging. The same tone he used with difficult clients, reasonable, authoritative, completely devoid of genuine emotion. "Already in progress," I replied cheerfully. "Martin Fletcher has been incredibly helpful." Tyler choked on his coffee, splattering drops across his crisp white shirt. Martin Fletcher, his direct competitor for partnership and the attorney who'd humiliated him in the Bryson case last spring. "You hired Fletcher?" His voice climbed an octave, the way it did when the Patriots lost in the final seconds of a game. "I didn't hire him, silly," I corrected, dabbing a napkin at the coffee stains spreading across his chest like evidence at a crime scene. He owed me a favor after I saved his tech CEO client. He's handling this pro bono. I leaned in conspiratorially. Apparently, he's very interested in cases involving attorneys who, how did he phrase it? Compromise ethical boundaries with opposing counsel. The color drained from Tyler's face with such dramatic efficiency that I momentarily considered checking for a pulse. "What exactly are you implying?" he whispered, glancing toward the stairs to ensure our children weren't witnessing Daddy's career flatlining at the breakfast table. "I'm not implying anything," I shrugged, gathering plates with the calm efficiency of someone who hasn't just detonated a tactical nuclear warhead over their marriage. Parker and Abigail, however, had some fascinating observations about your Sunday park activities. Children notice everything, don't they? Especially special friends with arm tattoos who hide behind trees. Panic isn't a good look on anyone, but on a corporate attorney who charges $750 an hour to project unshakable confidence, it's particularly unflattering. "Viv, I can explain." "Save it for your ethics hearing," I interrupted, checking my watch. "The kids will be down in 3 minutes for school. I suggest you use that time to decide whether you want this handled quietly or if you'd prefer the Connecticut Bar Association to weigh in on your extracurricular case preparation." The next 48 hours unfolded like a psychological thriller, one where I controlled every plot twist. Tyler moved into the guest room without prompting, the silent admission of guilt hanging between us like designer wallpaper in a murder scene. I maintained perfect normalcy for the children, helping with homework, attending Parker's soccer practice, and nodding sympathetically when Tyler claimed another late night at the office. The same office where, according to my sister Olivia's reconnaissance, tattoo artists have surprisingly good intel networks, Cassidy Morgan had been spotted entering at 9 p.m. and leaving at midnight. "So what's the endgame here?" Olivia asked Wednesday night during our emergency wine session in my kitchen after the kids were asleep. "Scorched earth? Maximum alimony? The house and his retirement accounts?" I swirled my Cabernet thoughtfully. "I'm thinking bigger. Bigger than taking half his assets and his dignity?" Olivia raised an eyebrow, the dragon tattoo on her forearm seeming to dance with anticipation. "I'm thinking about the partnership he's been chasing for 3 years, I explained. "The one that's practically guaranteed if he wins the Westbrook case. The one that would double his income and finally get him the corner office overlooking the golf course. The one he's apparently willing to sleep with opposing counsel to secure." Olivia noted dryly. "Exactly," I nodded. "And what happens to that partnership when the managing partners discover their golden boy has been compromising case strategy in the bedroom?" Olivia's eyes widened. "You wouldn't." "I wouldn't," I agreed, refilling our glasses. "But his mother might." Thursday's theater of awkwardness featured Tyler attempting normal family conversation at dinner while simultaneously checking his phone under the table every 30 seconds. Each notification made him flinch like a man expecting to be served with career-ending paperwork alongside the roast chicken. "Daddy, are you sick?" Abigail asked innocently, noticing his untouched food. "Your face looks funny." "Just a tough case, sweetheart," he managed, shooting me a desperate glance. "Is it about your special friend?" Parker asked through a mouthful of mashed potatoes, demonstrating the Reed family talent for timing devastating questions. Tyler's fork clattered against his plate. "What special friend, buddy?" "The lady with the drawings on her arms," Abigail clarified helpfully. "The one you kiss at the park." The beautiful thing about children, beyond their innocence and capacity for joy, is their utter inability to maintain family secrets. They're like WikiLeaks with training wheels. "I think Daddy's friend is just someone from work," I interjected smoothly. "Grown-ups sometimes have complicated friendships." "Is that why you were taking pictures of them, Mommy?" Parker asked, reaching for his milk. "From behind the bench with Dana's hat on?" I've managed PR disasters for celebrities caught with prostitutes, politicians texting inappropriate photos, and CEOs embezzling millions. Yet nothing prepared me for being exposed by my own surveillance team of elementary schoolers. Tyler's head snapped up. "You were at the park?" "Of course I was at the park, Tyler," I replied calmly. "Did you think I'd take our children's word without verification? I'm a professional." Friday morning delivered the first counter move in our matrimonial chess game. Tyler cornered me in the kitchen after the kids left for school. "I spoke with Cassidy," he began, attempting to sound authoritative despite the fear evident in his eyes. "We've agreed to end things. It was a mistake, a stupid, meaningless fling. I want to work on our marriage." How predictable. Phase 1 of the cheater's damage control playbook. Minimize, terminate, reconcile. "That's nice," I responded, scrolling through emails on my phone with elaborate disinterest. "Did you discuss it before or after Judge Hamilton was assigned to your case?" His sharp intake of breath confirmed I'd landed another direct hit. "Hamilton? But he's my father's golfing buddy for 20 years?" I finished for him. Small world, isn't it? Almost as small as the legal community in Connecticut. I wonder what he'd think about your collaborative approach to opposing counsel. I can't what, Tyler? Tell the truth? Show evidence? That doesn't sound like me at all." I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. "Oh, by the way, your mother invited us for brunch on Sunday. She specifically requested I bring my phone to show her those lovely park photos again. Apparently, she's developing quite an interest in outdoor photography." The weekend loomed before us like an approaching storm. Tyler spent Saturday locked in his home office, presumably building defenses for battlefields on multiple fronts: legal, professional, and familial. Meanwhile, I took the children for ice cream and casually ran into Martin Fletcher, who loudly discussed our case, while Tyler's colleague from the firm pretended not to eavesdrop from the neighboring table. By Saturday night, Tyler had reached the bargaining stage, cornering me in our bedroom with desperation radiating from him like cheap cologne. "What do you want, Viv?" he pleaded, his voice cracking. "Name your terms. The house, full custody, my retirement accounts?" I smiled, not the warm expression of a forgiving spouse, but the calculated smile of a crisis manager who'd just been handed complete surrender. "What I want," I said slowly, watching his expression cycle through hope and fear, "is for you to join us for brunch at your mother's tomorrow. She's expecting the whole family." His face crumpled. "That's it? For now?" I nodded pleasantly. "After that, we'll discuss the future of Reed vs. Reed. I hear it's going to be a landmark case in more ways than one." Sunday brunch at Edith Reed's historic Victorian in Old Oakville had been a tradition since Tyler and I exchanged vows at the Oakville Country Club a decade ago. Usually, these gatherings featured Edith's legendary Eggs Benedict, passive-aggressive comments about Tyler's father's superior career trajectory, and polite interrogations about when we'd produce a third grandchild. Today promised something far more appetizing: the public execution of my husband's dignity, served with mimosas and homemade scones. "You look terrible," I observed as Tyler adjusted his tie in the hallway mirror. The dark circles under his eyes suggested he'd spent the night gaming out worst-case scenarios instead of sleeping. "Maybe ease up on the cologne. You smell like a freshman trying too hard at prom." The drive to his mother's house unfolded in excruciating silence, broken only by our children's cheerful backseat chatter about whether Grandma would have made her famous chocolate chip pancakes. "Daddy, are you and your special friend still playing hide-and-seek at the park?" Abigail asked innocently, kicking her feet against the leather seat. Tyler's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel as he shot me a desperate look. "I think Daddy's special friend might be busy today," I replied, scrolling through emails on my phone with theatrical nonchalance. Sometimes grown-up friendships get complicated when other grown-ups find out about them. Parker, ever the insightful firstborn, looked up from his Nintendo Switch. "Like when Tommy got caught cheating on his math test and had to sit in the principal's office." "Exactly like that, sweetheart," I nodded. "Except instead of the principal, it's the Connecticut Bar Association. And instead of no recess, it's no career." Tyler pulled into his mother's circular driveway with the careful precision of a man trying to delay his own execution. "Viv, please," he whispered as the kids unbuckled. "We can work this out privately." I patted his cheek with faux sympathy. "That opportunity expired the moment you used our children as your alibi to play legal briefs with tattooed prosecutors in public parks." Edith greeted us at the door with her trademark combination of wasp enthusiasm and penetrating judgment. She kissed the children, hugged me with unusual warmth, and regarded her son with the frosty appraisal normally reserved for undercooked poultry. "Tyler," she nodded, accepting his mechanical kiss on her cheek. "You look exhausted. Trouble sleeping?" The gleam in her eyes suggested she already knew exactly why her son's conscience might be keeping him awake. The first 30 minutes progressed with the excruciating tension of a hostage negotiation, disguised as polite family conversation. Tyler pushed food around his plate while Edith interrogated him about that big case with the precision of a seasoned prosecutor. "How is the Westbrook trial progressing, dear?" she asked, refilling my mimosa with conspiratorial generosity. "I read that the prosecution has a new strategy." "It's complicated," Tyler managed, avoiding eye contact. "Lots of moving parts." "I'll bet," Edith replied dryly. "Vivian mentioned you've been working very closely with the prosecutor. Cassidy, was it?" I suppressed a smile as Tyler choked on his water. "Can we talk about something else?" he pleaded. "Of course," his mother nodded pleasantly. "Vivian, tell me more about this exciting opportunity in Seattle. The children must be thrilled about the adventure." Before I could respond, my phone chimed with a text message. I glanced down, expecting something from Olivia, who was on standby for emergency wine delivery should brunch require post-game analysis. Instead, I saw a number I didn't recognize. "We need to talk." About Tyler. And about Gordon Phillips. Cassidy Morgan. I excused myself to the powder room, heart pounding as I called the number. "Ms. Morgan," I answered coolly. "This is unexpected." "Not as unexpected as discovering I might be a pawn in someone else's game," she replied, her voice tight with controlled panic. "I've been reviewing some communications between Tyler and the firm's managing partner, Gordon Phillips. There's something very wrong here." My PR crisis instincts kicked into overdrive. "Tell me everything." Over the next 15 minutes, Cassidy outlined a disturbing pattern she'd noticed over the past several weeks. Documents with altered timestamps. Strategy memos that seemed to vanish from the system. Subtle changes to evidence files. And most concerning, emails supposedly from Tyler to her that she'd never actually received. "At first I thought Tyler was being sloppy or playing games," she admitted. "But these irregularities started 3 months ago, before our involvement. I've been combing through my case files all night." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, my mind already racing ahead to possibilities. "Because yesterday I found something I wasn't supposed to see," Cassidy continued. "A draft email in the backup server from Phillips to the Judicial Nomination Committee, withdrawing his support for Tyler's potential judgeship and suggesting himself as an alternative candidate." The pieces clicked into place with chilling clarity. I'd been so focused on Tyler's personal betrayal that I'd missed the professional chess game happening in the background. "The Westbrook case isn't just another corporate corruption trial, is it?" I asked. "It's the highest profile case our district has seen in a decade," Cassidy confirmed. "Whoever wins it is practically guaranteed advancement. Phillips has been angling for a federal bench appointment for years. And if Tyler were to be discredited due to an inappropriate relationship with opposing counsel, exactly, Phillips eliminates competition while appearing to maintain ethical standards." I returned to the dining room with the calm demeanor of someone who'd just discovered where all the bodies were buried, but with a mind working at double speed. 3 months of subtle sabotage suggested this wasn't an opportunistic move by Phillips. It was a calculated campaign. "Everything all right, dear?" Edith asked, noting my extended absence. "Fascinating work call." I smiled, sliding back into my seat. "It seems the Westbrook case has taken some unexpected turns." Tyler's eyebrows furrowed. "On a Sunday? Crime doesn't observe weekends, does it, Tyler?" I tilted my head. "Neither does corporate sabotage." His confusion morphed into wariness as I turned to Edith. "Did Tyler ever mention that Gordon Phillips has been quietly positioning himself for a federal judgeship? The same position Tyler's been working toward?" "I don't discuss active cases," Tyler interrupted sharply. "That's probably wise," I nodded. "Especially since Phillips appears to be systematically undermining your position in the firm while encouraging your extracurricular activities with opposing counsel." The blood drained from Tyler's face with such dramatic efficiency that Edith reached over to check his pulse. "What are you suggesting?" he asked quietly. "I'm suggesting that your affair with Cassidy, while entirely your own moral failure, may have been encouraged and monitored by someone with a vested interest in your professional destruction." I pulled out my phone and showed him the text. Cassidy has been investigating irregularities in case documentation going back 3 months. Altered timestamps, missing strategy memos, falsified communications. Someone with administrative access to the firm's systems has been laying groundwork. Tyler stared at the phone, his attorney's mind visibly recalibrating. Phillips has that level of access, and he's been unusually interested in my handling of the Westbrook case. He's also been documenting your meetings with Cassidy, I added, which means the affair wasn't just a personal indiscretion. It was a trap you walked right into. Over the next hour, as the children played in Edith's expansive backyard, the 3 adults engaged in an intense strategic discussion. Tyler's betrayal remained unexcused, but the larger context painted a more complex picture than I'd initially assumed. "So what now?" Edith asked, ever the practical retired principal. Tyler still engaged in an inappropriate relationship, regardless of Phillips's machinations. "True," I nodded, "and that will have consequences for our marriage. But the professional sabotage is something else entirely." I turned to Tyler, whose face had progressed from shock to strategic calculation. "You have a choice to make. Continue this self-destructive path and lose everything, or help expose Phillips' manipulation while taking responsibility for your own actions." "What would that look like?" he asked cautiously. "First, you're moving into the guest room indefinitely," I stated flatly. "The affair alone earns you that penalty. Second, you need to carefully document everything Phillips has access to without alerting him. Third, you'll need to disclose the relationship with Cassidy to the ethics board yourself before Phillips can weaponize it." "That could end my career," Tyler protested. "Not if it's part of exposing a systematic attempt by a managing partner to sabotage a colleague for personal gain," I countered. "A voluntary disclosure looks like integrity. Being exposed looks like deception." Parker appeared at the patio door, waving excitedly. "Grandma, Mom, Dad, come see the fort we built." As we stood to join the children, Tyler touched my arm lightly. "I know I've destroyed your trust," he said quietly, "but I need to know. Are you doing this to help me or destroy Phillips?" I gave him my most professional crisis manager smile. "I'm doing this because I excel at turning other people's bad decisions into opportunities. Phillips picked the wrong crisis manager's husband to manipulate." Edith raised her mimosa in a toast. "I always said my son married up. To Vivian, the only person at this table playing 3-dimensional chess while everyone else is still learning the rules." Monday morning dawned with the crisp efficiency of a well-planned military operation. While most of Oakville's residents were crawling toward coffee makers and contemplating their work weeks, I was 3 steps into dismantling a managing partner's carefully constructed conspiracy. "You look surprisingly chipper for someone whose marriage is imploding," Tyler observed as he emerged from the guest room, his designer suit unable to hide the defeat in his posture. "That's because I'm excellent at compartmentalization," I replied, handing him a travel mug of coffee. "One compartment for the cheating husband heading to the guest house this weekend, another for the corporate takedown we're orchestrating. Your mother's contractor is ready whenever you are, by the way. She's thrilled to convert her pool house into your midlife crisis accommodation." The plan we developed over the next 2 weeks was methodical and multi-layered. Tyler would continue working normally under Phillips' watchful eye while documenting every irregular communication. Cassidy would quietly build her own evidence file from the prosecution's side, and I would do what I do best, construct the perfect narrative for maximum impact. "Remember," I instructed as Tyler headed for the door, "act concerned but not suspicious. Phillips needs to believe his plan is working while we document every move." "I've tried cases before the Supreme Court," Tyler reminded me stiffly. "I think I can handle pretending to be manipulated by my boss." "Of course you can, dear." I patted his arm. "Just like you handled hiding your affair from your crisis management expert wife." "Oh, wait. The first phase of our counter-operation involved careful documentation. Tyler installed discrete tracking software on his devices to record unauthorized access. Cassidy began backing up all communications to secure servers outside the firm's network, and I reached out to Connecticut's state attorney's office through carefully cultivated channels. The Westbrook case involves interstate wire fraud and securities violations. I explained to Senior State Attorney Diane Levinson over lunch at a discreet restaurant in Hartford, far from Oakville's gossip network. Diane had been a client 3 years ago when her son's unfortunate social media scandal threatened her re-election campaign. You're suggesting a sitting managing partner at Reed & Phillips is actively undermining his own firm's case? Diane raised an eyebrow, her skepticism professional rather than dismissive. I'm suggesting he's manipulating evidence, compromising attorney-client privilege, and potentially obstructing justice to secure a federal judgeship, I clarified, sliding a thumb drive across the table. Here's what we've gathered so far. Note the metadata timestamps showing document alterations from Phillips' secure login. By the end of our second week of evidence gathering, we had compiled a damning dossier: unauthorized access logs, altered documents, manipulated email timestamps, and most significantly, a draft letter to the Judicial Nomination Committee that Phillips had written 3 months ago, outlining Tyler's ethical concerns that hadn't yet occurred. He's getting sloppy, I observed during our secure meeting at Edith's house that Friday evening. He's accelerating the timeline because the nomination committee meets next month. The Westbrook closing arguments are scheduled for 2 weeks from now, Tyler confirmed, loosening his tie as he paced the living room. He needs this wrapped up before then. Perfect, I smiled. So do we. We set our trap the following Monday. I arranged for Tyler to be accidentally overheard discussing ethics concerns with a clerk at the courthouse, where, coincidentally, one of Phillips's loyal associates was filing motions in another case. By Thursday, Phillips had taken the bait, calling an emergency partners meeting for Friday morning. According to Tyler's sources, the agenda included one ominous item: ethical concerns regarding the Westbrook case. He's making his move, I noted as we finalized preparations in our kitchen after the children were asleep. He'll present the fabricated evidence and call for your immediate removal from the case and possibly the firm, with convenient evidence suggesting I was colluding with Cassidy to manipulate witnesses, Tyler added grimly. Which is why State Attorney Levinson will have a team ready, I reminded him. The moment Phillips presents falsified evidence in that meeting, he's committing fraud. Tyler looked unconvinced. You're betting my career on the timing of a state prosecutor's intervention. I'm betting your career on the fact that people who think they're the smartest in the room rarely look up to check who's watching from the balcony, I corrected. Friday morning arrived with the electric anticipation of a carefully orchestrated operation nearly 3 weeks in the making. Tyler dressed with unusual care, actually allowing me to select his power tie, a subtle navy with nearly invisible pattern that complemented his concerned but determined expression. Nervous? I asked, adjusting his collar. Terrified, he admitted. Phillips has been my mentor for 7 years, and plotting your professional execution for at least 3 of them, I reminded him, according to the email timestamps Cassidy found. The partners' meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. By 8:30, all players were in position. Cassidy was prepared to accidentally arrive for an unscheduled meeting. State attorney investigators were discreetly positioned in the building for a supposedly unrelated matter. Judge Hamilton had been briefed and was standing by to sign warrants if needed, and I had arranged for a chance encounter with Phillips' wife at Oakville's most exclusive salon at precisely 10 a.m. At 9:17 a.m., according to the transcript later provided to the Connecticut Bar Association, Phillips made his move. With the confident swagger of a man who believed he had orchestrated the perfect coup, he presented the evidence of Tyler and Cassidy's alleged conspiracy to the assembled partners. It pains me to bring this to your attention, Phillips intoned with practiced gravitas, but Tyler Reed, who I've mentored personally, appears to have been working with the prosecutor to manipulate the Westbrook case outcome. The digital evidence appeared damning. Emails, transfers, meeting logs, all suggesting an elaborate scheme orchestrated by Tyler and Cassidy. Do you have anything to say for yourself, Reed? Phillips demanded, savoring what he believed was his protégé's professional execution. Tyler executed his role perfectly, displaying exactly the right mixture of shock, confusion, and mounting horror. I never sent these emails. The evidence suggests otherwise, Phillips continued smoothly. I move that Tyler be removed from the case immediately, and that we convene an ethics review. Before we vote, Tyler interjected, his voice shaking authentically. May I at least examine the metadata on these documents to understand when they were supposedly created? Phillips smiled thinly. Of course. I have nothing to hide. And there it was, the fatal error. As Phillips forwarded the files to the conference room display, the document properties revealed exactly what we had anticipated. Creation and modification timestamps connecting directly to Phillips' personal devices. That's strange, Tyler frowned, pointing to the screen. These appear to have been created on your personal server, Gordon, and modified as recently as yesterday. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees as the assembled partners realized the implications. A simple technical error, Phillips waved dismissively, but the sweat beading on his forehead betrayed his panic. Like the error of using your administrative access to alter firm documents? Tyler asked innocently. Or the error of drafting a letter to the Judicial Nomination Committee about my ethical violations 3 months before they occurred. Those kinds of technical errors? The partners' expressions transformed from confusion to shock as Tyler calmly laid out the actual conspiracy. Phillips's elaborate scheme to sacrifice Tyler and secure his judicial appointment. This is absurd, Phillips sputtered. You have no proof. The conference room door opened precisely on cue. Cassidy Morgan entered, followed by Senior State Attorney Levinson. Actually, Levinson smiled, we have quite a bit of proof, including this morning's presentation of falsified evidence to your partners. At 10:14 a.m., while Gordon Phillips was being informed of pending charges in the glass-walled conference room of Connecticut's most prestigious law firm, I was sipping champagne-infused orange juice with his wife Elaine at Luster Salon and Day Spa. Your husband's about to be indicted on multiple counts, I informed her casually as our highlights processed. Falsification of evidence, obstruction of justice, potential witness tampering. Elaine Phillips didn't miss a beat as she flipped through a magazine. Will it make the evening news? Probably, she sighed, checking her French manicure. I suppose I should call my attorney about accelerating the divorce filing. The prenup has a morality clause. I clinked my mimosa glass against hers. To new beginnings. By noon, Phillips had been escorted from the building by state investigators. The partners had called an emergency succession meeting, and Cassidy had submitted new evidence in the Westbrook case that implicated several previously untouchable power players while clearing Tyler of misconduct allegations. And I had already drafted Tyler's notice of intent to withdraw from partnership consideration, effective after the Westbrook case concluded, citing his desire to prioritize family healing while I established our children's new life in Seattle, with carefully negotiated custody and financial arrangements. As they say in crisis management, it's not about preventing the explosion. It's about controlling who gets hit with the shrapnel. 8 months can change everything. After Gordon Phillips's spectacular downfall, I stood in my sleek downtown Seattle office overlooking Elliott Bay, watching raindrops race down floor-to-ceiling windows while finalizing preparations for my newest client. A tech billionaire with an unfortunate habit of tweeting company secrets while sleep-deprived. Ms. Reed, my assistant Dana interrupted, your ex-husband is online too. Ex-husband. The title still felt strange, though the divorce had been finalized with methodical efficiency 4 months ago. Unlike most contentious separations, ours had the curious advantage of Tyler being motivated to settle quickly and quietly after his former mentor's indictment on multiple state charges. Tyler? I answered, keeping my tone professionally cordial. This is unexpected. Court isn't scheduled until next month for the custody review. I'm not calling about that, he replied, his voice carrying the weight of his new responsibilities. The partners voted yesterday. I've been named senior partner with expanded oversight responsibilities. Congratulations, I replied, genuinely impressed. From disgraced partner to senior leadership in 8 months. That might be a land speed record for legal career rehabilitation. It wouldn't have happened without you, he acknowledged. Your crisis management strategy was masterful. I allowed myself a small smile. Consider it my parting gift, along with your continued ability to practice law. The Westbrook case had concluded with a series of high-profile convictions, conveniently omitting Tyler's ethical lapses while highlighting his crucial role in uncovering corruption. Meanwhile, Phillips had accepted a plea deal that would keep him in a minimum security state facility for at least 3 years, with a permanent end to his legal career. "How are the kids adjusting?" Tyler asked, the forced casualness in his voice betraying his guilt. "Thriving," I answered truthfully. "Parker made the travel soccer team, and Abigail's teacher says she's reading 2 grade levels ahead. Your mother visited last weekend, by the way. She's considering buying a condo in Bellevue to be closer to them." Tyler's audible wince carried clearly across 3,000 miles. "Nothing quite like your mother choosing your ex-wife and children over loyalty to you to cement your status as family disappointment. Edith mentioned you're seeing someone," he ventured cautiously. "Your mother has always been an excellent intelligence gatherer," I noted dryly. "I've had coffee with Seattle's deputy district attorney a few times. We met during a charity fundraiser for the Children's Hospital. Nothing serious yet. It's only been a few months since the divorce was finalized, and I'm focusing on the children's adjustment." The reality of our new normal had settled into something surprisingly functional. Tyler flew to Seattle monthly for his weekend visitations, staying at the Four Seasons downtown rather than attempting to navigate the awkwardness of our former domestic life. The children were adjusting with the resilience that still amazes me, though Parker occasionally asked pointed questions about why adults make things so complicated. "I wanted to ask a favor," Tyler continued, interrupting my reflections. "The firm is expanding to the West Coast, Seattle, specifically. Hoping to consolidate your existing monthly visits for the children with business matters? How efficiently paternal of you." "Actually," he hesitated, "I was wondering if you'd consider consulting for us. You'd be working with me during my regular trips to see the kids, but this would add a professional dimension. The Seattle office will need a crisis management strategy, and your reputation has only grown since you moved there." I nearly dropped my coffee mug. "You want to hire me? After everything?" "Because of everything," he corrected. "You orchestrated the perfect takedown of a corrupt managing partner while simultaneously securing your children's future, negotiating a favorable divorce settlement, and launching a thriving new practice across the country. The partners were impressed. The partners were terrified," I translated. "They're worried I might do to them what I did to Phillips if they ever cross our children's interests." "That too," Tyler admitted. "Fear is a powerful motivator in corporate America." I considered the proposal for several moments. The irony wasn't lost on me. Being hired by the firm I had nearly brought to its knees, consulted by the ex-husband whose affair had catalyzed my cross-country escape. His monthly visits to see Parker and Abigail would now have an added purpose. "I'll consider it," I finally replied. "Send the proposal to my office. And Tyler? The consultation would be strictly professional. We're co-parents now, not partners." "Understood," he said, the relief in his voice palpable. "Thank you, Viv." After hanging up, I walked to the window wall, watching ferries crisscross the sound against the backdrop of distant mountains. My phone pinged with a text from Olivia, who had moved to Seattle 3 months after us to open a tattoo studio in Capitol Hill. "Edith just put in an offer on the Bellevue condo. We're celebrating tonight. Bring wine." I smiled at the unexpected family we'd created. My tattooed sister, my former mother-in-law who had chosen sides definitively, and my 2 remarkably adaptable children who somehow understood that families evolve in configurations more complex than their picture book suggested. Parker had put it best last week, with the devastating clarity only 8-year-olds possess. "Dad messed up, but you fixed it better than it was before." Out of the mouths of babes. As for me, I discovered that crisis management isn't just a career. It's a life philosophy. Sometimes the most devastating revelations lead to the most necessary reconstructions. Sometimes children's innocent observations become the catalyst for overdue change. And sometimes, the family you rebuild from the ashes of betrayal becomes stronger than the one you thought was perfect. Tyler's affair hadn't destroyed our family. It had simply forced us to recognize it was already broken in ways too subtle for daily observation. Now, standing in my Seattle office with Puget Sound spread before me like unlimited possibility, I realized the most important crisis I'd ever managed wasn't Gordon Phillips's downfall or Tyler's complicated redemption arc. It was my own renaissance, deliberate, strategic, and ultimately triumphant.